What's up guys, Gustavo Gasperin here. I'm a black belt under Fabricio Verdun. Today we're gonna see how to attack from the north and south position, okay? Let's take a look here. Starting from side control. My partner here is laying down. I have my regular side control here, cross face under the armpit. And I'm gonna start walking towards the north and south, okay? Because sometimes from side control here, the guy has good defenses. It's hard for me to attack him, it's hard for me to mount. So I want to change the game a little bit, going to north and south, to see if I can catch him with something that I can surprise him, okay? So what I'm going to do, I want to go to north and south and block his hip so he cannot follow me, right? That's the whole deal here when I'm going to the north and south position. So all I'm going to do is unlocking my hands here. I'm gonna cup his shoulder, lift his shoulder up a little bit to make sure that it's tight against my body. I'm gonna throw my arm to the other side of his body, okay? My elbow here gets close to his neck. I'm still lifting his shoulder here, so I bring my arm really underneath his body here, pretty much underneath his shoulder, making sure that everything is tight and connected, right? From here now I'm gonna start going to the north and south, but before I go, I have to check his hip with this hand. My hand's gonna go heavy against the mat, okay? Because if I don't bring my hand to the other side and I go to the north and south, now he's gonna just follow me. Okay? There is nothing blocking there. So I'm gonna check his hip with my hand here. My hand goes to the mat next to his hip. I'm gonna start walking towards the north and south. If he tries to follow me, he won't be able to. Okay, I'm blocking that hip. And look where I'm gonna land. Most of the time, naturally, I'm gonna land with this arm here, which is gonna be under his arm. And the other arm that I just threw over his arm is gonna land on top. So it's over, under position. That's the most common position that you're gonna land when you go to the north and south, okay? What could happen also is, as I'm trying to transition to north and south, I'm gonna try to block my hip with this forearm here, okay? All I have to do is drop that weight on top of that arm, okay? He won't be able to hold me there for too long. So I'm here, throw my arm to the other side of his head, block his hip. As I start walking, if it blocks my hip, I just switch my base and drop the weight on top of that hand. Okay? Even if he keeps holding there, I keep that weight on top until he gets his arm tired. And then I'm gonna walk and have my side, my north and south position here. Under and over, that's what's gonna happen 90% of the time. Sometimes I'm gonna have double over and sometimes double under. Okay, you're gonna see attacks from all those three positions, but here the over-under is the most common and we have more options from here, okay? Alright guys, so now let's take a look at the attacks here, okay, from the over-under position. Side control, lift his shoulder, drop my arm really glued against his body, block his hip. I'm gonna walk towards north and south, okay? As I go to north and south, I wanna shoot this arm here really deep underneath his arm, okay? I wanna bring my hand really close to my chest, biting his arm here really tight, okay? So I'm pretty much pinching his arm here, his triceps in between my forearm and biceps, right? So it's really tight grip here. One more time. Throw my arm around, block his hip. As I go to north and south, I'm gonna dig this arm really deep underneath his arm, bringing my hand close to my chest. Right, super tight. From here, I already have my Kimura, right? I'm gonna control his wrist now with my other hand, lock my Kimura position, okay? My knees, his head should be between my knees, okay? Now to finish the Kimura, I want him sideways. It's hard to finish him if he's flat on the mat. So all I'm gonna do is step my shin on top of his arm, okay? I'm going to step on his arm to block his arm. No, don't let him escape. And I'm going to pose this leg. As I pose this leg, I'm going to lift my kimura here. I lift my arm, lifting his elbow and shoulder, turning him to the side. Right? That's my finishing position here. All I have to do is pull up, drive his hand behind his back, okay? Of course, because, let's just change the angle here. I'm trapping, as I get into this position, if I don't trap his arm, it's easier for him to control hand to hand, right? If he controls hand to hand, and I turn and try to break here, it's gonna be hard to break that grip. It's a very strong grip. Plus, my control is not that good. He can slip his head out and escape from the kimura. So ideally, I wanna be trapping this arm here. As I get my kimura, I step my shin, my knee, right here against the mat. So his biceps is trapped in between my knee and my foot, right? Strapped in between my knee and my foot. Now, to break this grip is easier just by pulling up, right? He cannot follow the other hand. If I'm not stepping on top of the arm, the bottom hand is gonna lift up as well. Control your hands together. And now it's hard. If I pin the arm on the ground, it's easier to break this grip. It gives me more control, right? All I'm gonna do is bring his arm. I wanna keep this angle here 90 degrees and drive his hand behind his back, okay? The motion, what I'm trying to do is bring his hand right here behind his back, keeping his arm 90 degrees, okay? If his arm extends up, I'm gonna miss, right? So kimura is the first option. For some reason, if I cannot break that grip, or maybe he controls his belt, and it's really, really hard to break this grip, I'm gonna combo with the arm bar now. All I'm gonna do is a little squat. I'm gonna lift this leg here and sit down, okay? My shin is behind his back here tight. If I can break the grip here, great. Most of the time I won't be able to break because he was already holding it tight. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass my leg over his stomach to make it easier to break the grip. At this moment here, I'm fine because the kimura grip doesn't let him walk around, which would be one of his escapes. If he tries to walk around, he's gonna shoulder lock himself. He's not going anywhere, right? Because of my kimura grip. It's different than having just my arm like this, right? With my kimura, I control his wrist, so I'm punching his hand this way. If he tries to walk that way, he's gonna break his shoulder. If I don't have the kimura grip, now he's able to walk around. Right? So the kimura grip here buys me some time until I'm able to pass my leg. And now I'm gonna start working on my break here, right? To break, I can step on his biceps, right? To break that grip. Alright guys, so next option now is attacking the near arm, okay? We started attacking the far arm with the kimura and arm bar. Now I'm gonna attack the near arm with arm bar as well, or trap it to go for the paper cutter choke, okay? So the beginning is gonna be the same. I have my side control here. I'm gonna throw my arm to the other side, block his hip, and start going to north and south, okay? I'm landing here on the over-under position that we already know. As I'm trying to go to my kimura here, he drops his elbow heavy against the mat and it's hard to get my arm underneath his arm. So there is no Kimura here, no arm bar. I'm going to start attacking this arm now. Okay? I'm going to swing my arm under his arm. And I'm going to grab his lapel, okay, his collar behind his neck. Palm up, 4 fingers on the inside. Okay? That's the grip I'm looking for. So from the north and south position, I grab my arm under his arm. And now I'm going to go back to side control to trap his arm. Now his arm is trapped in between my ribs and his ribs. Okay? I'm putting weight on top here, trapping his arm. And the arm that was on the other side of his body, I'm going to start sliding my elbow here, opening space for my hand. Okay? I can grab right here on his shoulder. I can grab a material here, the gi. It doesn't really matter. I can do no gi as well, just cupping his shoulder here and controlling the other shoulder and dropping my elbow down. Okay, that's the paper cutter choke here. Details here that I want to do is make sure that, you know, I'm catching his neck. I don't want to crank his jaw, right? Of course. So that's why I'm opening space with my elbow already. I turn his head to that side, exposing his neck, and I catch anywhere here, ready to choke. I'm gonna drop my forearm, my elbow towards the ground, right? If you control the gi, make sure that you control next to his neck, right? If you control too far away from his neck, I'm gonna drop my elbow down and nothing's gonna happen. Of course, it's not connected to his neck, so I grab next to his neck, drop my elbow down for the choke. Another important detail here too is my leg positioning and my other hand, right? I don't want him turning to this side, into me, right? If he turns into me, I'm cranking now the side of his neck, not the front of his neck, right? So I'm cranking his muscles there. It's not gonna work. So to prevent him turning into me, I'm gonna lift his shoulder up with the hand that I'm controlling behind his neck. I go for the choke. If he tries to turn into me, I lift his shoulder up, right? Now my leg positioning here varies sometimes. It depends how deep my hand is. If my hand is deep, I can finish right here. If my hand is not deep enough, I have to drop more body weight on top of his neck. I'm gonna do that by extending this leg, kind of sprawling. Now I'm dropping my weight on top of his neck, right? I'm here. It's all my body weight leaning on top of that neck. Paper cut choke, nice. Sometimes it doesn't work because I cannot find his neck. Sometimes, you know, the guy has really short neck. I cannot find it. He's turning his head. I'm missing. It's alright. Let's go for the armbar combo here. I keep my grip. I make sure everything's tight. I'm pressing his arm. I'm bringing my elbow close to my ribs here. So I'm trapping his arm really good. And I'm gonna go for the armbar. I'm gonna armbar this arm here. I'm trying to choke him. It's not working. I pass my leg. Right? Bring my heel really close to the guy. I still have pretty good balance here. Try to escape there, Jason. Yeah, it's pretty good control. He cannot go that way because his arm is trapped. He cannot turn into me because I'm still lifting his shoulder up. Now I'm gonna bring my knee close to his ribs. Pinch my knees together, and I have the armbar either right here already, or if I don't find the angle, I'm going to start sliding the hand from the neck to the arm, to the wrist. As I lean back, I slide my hand, and his hand that was behind my armpit goes in front of my chest. Okay? Squeeze my knees, bring his hand down, lift my hip, I have my arm bar there. One more time here. Side control. Transition to north and south. I miss my Kimura here because he drives his elbow to the ground. So I'm going to start working on this arm here. Okay? I need to make sure I clear his arm to the other side of my body. Okay? If his arm is bent like this, when I walk back towards my side control, I'm not trapping his arm, right? So I need to make sure his arm is right there underneath my armpit. Most of the time it's gonna be anyways, he doesn't want his arm here in front of his body because I'm smashing his arm, it's uncomfortable for him. So he wants to clear his arm on his own, right? Control behind his neck, walk back towards side control to pinch his arm, squeeze my elbow towards my ribs, paper cutter, arm bar. If he's not tapping right now, pinch my knees together, start sliding, trying to catch his wrist here. Pinch my knees together, okay? Now what could happen here? As we learned before, I don't have my Kimura grip here, so he can start walking around, right? To defend the arm bar. He's gonna turn his thumb here, starting to walk around, twisting his shoulder, and I miss the arm bar. Go to your knees, Jason, all the way. Yes. And I miss my arm bar, right? So how do I counter that? I'm gonna counter with the omoplata there. As he goes for the escape, I throw this leg over. And then I have my omoplata here, okay? Alright guys, next option now is when I have double over, okay? I'm going to my regular transition here from side control to north and south. But as I land on north and south here, he starts bridging and he brings his arm on the inside, okay? See now that I have double over, okay? What I'm gonna do from here is trying to take his back now. How I'm gonna do that? I'm gonna open his gi, right? If I see that he's really trying to escape here, my first step should be controlling his belt, locking him down, everything here, and I'm gonna be tight on top of the guy, okay? And now I'm gonna start taking my time to open his gi slowly, still heavy, putting weight, right? If I really wanna put weight and control the guy, I don't wanna be on my knees here, I'm gonna just sprawl heavy on top of his head, okay? That's how I'm gonna control the guy here. Put all my weight, my stomach, my hip on top of the guy's head. Now I'm going to start opening his gi. Okay? Open one side, make sure that's tight against his armpit. And I'm going to do the same to the other side. Opening the gi. As he tries to escape, I keep riding the guy, keep riding and adjusting my grip. Okay? I have to take my time for this technique here to make sure everything is tight. Now I'm going to do a little squat here, right next to his shoulder. And I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna sit my butt on the mat and pull him on top of me. To get my first hook and second hook, okay? Now I can lock my seatbelt and start working on his back. It's important here, the angle that I'm pulling the guy, okay? As I stay down, as I have double over here and start working my grips. When I squat, I don't want to pull the guy up, right? Otherwise I'm gonna miss the control, I'm gonna miss the lapel. So as I control here, as I squat, I sit down, I pull him on top of me, okay? 1 and 2, start working my back take. Okay guys, so last option is when the guy has double under, okay? He has a bear hug around my back, okay? So I'm starting here with the regular side control to north and south transition, and I couldn't trap his arm well, so he slips his arms under, and we are here on this situation, like a bear hug here, right? I need to be careful here because if the guy is a very strong and explosive guy, he can roll me, right? He can roll me and come on top, so I need to make sure my arms are wide here. I drop, again, my hip against his face. I behave on a sprawl position here. When I'm feeling that I'm safe, then I'm gonna start working here to break this grip, okay? What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring my knee, I'm gonna choose one side, I'm gonna bring my knee close to his shoulder, trapping his shoulder here. And I'm gonna start walking now to side control, but I'm gonna switch my base to a Kasugatame position, okay? So I'm gonna throw my arm here, as I switch my hip, and I bring this arm around, making sure that I capture his elbow here. I cannot miss his elbow here and let him escape, okay? If that happens, probably I'm gonna still land on side control, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm trying to choke him out, okay? So if I have my tricep, my armpit here in between his shoulder and his elbow, I'm able to trap that arm pretty well, okay? We call this the windshield choke because of the motion I'm doing here, right? Trapping that arm. And as I trap, I'm going to start driving my biceps against his neck. Very tight. It's a very good control. From here, what I'm going to do is connect my hands. I'm going to put pressure. I can still stay on my Kasugatame position and drive my chest against his arm, which goes against his neck. Now, it's a horrible choke. It's very hard to escape from here. If the choke doesn't work, or I don't feel that I can grab around his neck enough, now I have an easy mount here. He cannot block my mouth because his arm is trapped, right? It's important to know that this choke is different than the arm triangle, right? The arm triangle, his arm is in between our necks. This choke, his arm is in between our chests. Okay? So on the arm triangle, I would jump to that side to finish. On the windshield choke, I have to stay on the same side. Okay? If I jump to the wrong side, it makes it easier for him to just slip out. Yeah? There's nothing holding him. So I stay on the same side and apply the choke. Let's take a look one more time here. Side control to north and south. He gets both arms around. Right, I'm gonna bring my knee here, trapping his shoulder. As I throw my arm to the other side, I'm gonna switch my base and catch the top arm here, breaking his grip. Okay. Sometimes I won't be able to break that grip. His grip is too strong. All I have to do is catch his head here. We start forcing his head the other way. He's gonna break sooner or later, okay? I get my biceps around his neck, connect my hands together, still on a Kasugatame position, and drive my chest behind his triceps, and his shoulder runs against his neck, okay? That's the windshield choke. From here, if I can't get the choke, I transition to the mount pretty easy. I can start working, variations from the mount or modified mount here.